The space station Arendor floated like a silver jewel among the stars. Its massive docking bays glimmered with neon lights, reflecting the countless ships arriving from distant worlds. Humans, aliens, and robots moved in harmony, all here for diplomacy, trade, and political negotiations. For most, this was a place of opportunity. For Liam Carter, it was the first real test of humanity's place in the galaxy. Liam was 19, young but determined. He had been chosen to represent Earth's coalition of planets for interstellar diplomacy. His training at the Intergalactic Academy had prepared him for negotiation, strategy, and leadership, but nothing had prepared him for the day he would meet Prince Kieran. Kieran was 19 as well, though he already carried the weight of being the heir to the Zitherian Empire. Tall, with shimmering silver skin and eyes like molten gold, Kieran's presence alone demanded attention. Yet beneath the regal posture, there was a certain arrogance, an expectation that others would bow, admire, and never challenge him. That expectation had carried him through life so far, and he was certain it would continue. The first meeting took place in the Hall of Nebulas, a grand chamber filled with floating lights that mimicked distant galaxies. Delegates from hundreds of species gathered, their clothing and forms reflecting cultures Liam had only read about in textbooks. He felt a pang of nervousness but reminded himself that he had prepared for this moment for years. As he stepped forward, Kieran's eyes immediately found him. A small mocking smile played on the prince's lips. He leaned forward slightly, his voice smooth yet sharp when he spoke. "Ah, the human. I have heard much about your species. Primitive, yet bold enough to send one of your own to represent you here." Liam paused. The words stung, not because he was offended, but because they were so predictably insulting. He could feel the eyes of other delegates on him, waiting for a reaction. Anger, embarrassment, pride. They expected all the usual human emotions to flare. But Liam did not respond. Instead, he took a slow, measured breath and turned away. His shoulders straight, his head held high, he walked out of Kieran's immediate presence without a word. The hall went silent. A low murmur rippled through the crowd, as if everyone was trying to decide whether they had just witnessed courage or foolishness. Kieran's smile faltered. His golden eyes narrowed, not in anger but in confusion. He had expected shouts, a retort, perhaps even a challenge. Yet this human had done nothing. Nothing at all. The prince motioned for his aides, but they could not explain it. "Did you see that?" Kieran whispered. He didn't answer. One aide, a tall figure with translucent skin, tilted their head. "Your Highness, perhaps he simply does not understand Zitherian customs." Kieran snorted softly. "No, he understood perfectly. That is what makes it strange." Meanwhile, Liam walked calmly down the hall, each step deliberate. He passed other delegates who stared at him with a mixture of curiosity and admiration. Some whispered quietly to their companions, "That human is different. He does not follow the expected rules. He does not react the way others do." Liam reached a quiet observation deck overlooking the docking bays. Ships from countless civilizations glided in and out, each with its unique shape and energy signature. He took a moment to center himself, feeling the hum of the station beneath his feet. He remembered his mentor's words before he left Earth. Humans are not the strongest, the fastest, or the most advanced. But never forget, our greatest power is our patience, our adaptability, and our ability to remain calm when others lose control. And today, he would show that strength not with words, but with presence. Back in the Hall of Nebulas, Kieran was not idle. The young prince had never been so intrigued by anyone before. Every human he had met was loud, reactive, or desperate to prove themselves. Yet this one, Liam had walked away, unmoved, unshaken. Kieran's curiosity grew into obsession. Who was this human who dared ignore a royal insult? He summoned his personal aide. "Find out everything about him," Kieran ordered. "His training, his history, his achievements. I want to understand why he behaves like this." The aide bowed. "Yes, Your Highness, immediately." Hours passed and the station's corridors buzzed with activity. Liam attended briefings, observed alien customs, and met with other delegates. He listened more than he spoke, always polite, always composed. Despite his youth, he had a presence that made others respect him. It was quiet power, not loud or flashy, but undeniably there. Meanwhile, Kieran's mind wandered back to that moment in the hall. He replayed Liam's calm stride, the way his shoulders never tensed, the way his eyes held neither fear nor anger. It was frustrating. I must see him again, Kieran said aloud, almost to himself. I need to know what he is thinking. What makes him different? That evening, the station held a ceremonial banquet to honor the arrival of new delegates. Aliens of all shapes and sizes mingled, floating gracefully or moving on multiple legs. Music played from a hovering orchestra, filling the air with harmonies both strange and beautiful. Liam attended quietly, standing at the edge of the crowd, observing. Kieran appeared, his regal robes catching the light, his presence immediately drawing attention. Yet as he scanned the room, his gaze found Liam. The prince walked toward him with purpose, as if approaching an unpredictable animal. Human, Kieran said, his voice dripping with faux warmth. You have survived your first day without embarrassing yourself. That is mildly impressive. Liam looked up at him and simply nodded. Thank you, Prince Kieran. It has been a pleasure to observe your customs. Kieran's eyebrows rose. Observe? You speak as if we are a museum exhibit. I am learning, Liam replied calmly. Observation is part of understanding. The prince's lips twitched, a mixture of irritation and amusement. Most humans would have shouted, argued, or tried to prove themselves. You do none of that. Why? Liam considered this for a moment. Because I do not need to prove myself to anyone. My actions over time will speak louder than words. Kieran stared at him, momentarily speechless. He had expected arrogance, bravado, or even fear, but not this level of calm confidence. The banquet continued around them, but the two seemed locked in a silent battle of understanding. Neither had insulted the other, yet each had measured the other carefully, weighing strength, patience, and intelligence. As the evening ended, Liam took his leave, bowing politely to the alien dignitaries. Kieran watched him go, a strange feeling rising in his chest. Respect, curiosity? Perhaps both. Later, in his private chambers, Kieran paced. Humans, he muttered. So small yet so remarkable. This one will be the test. Back in his quarters, Liam reviewed his notes. Every encounter, every insult, every reaction or lack of reaction was important. He understood that this was just the beginning. The galaxy was vast, and humans had only just begun to show their place among the stars. And in that moment, both human and alien realized that the first impression was far from the last. A quiet rivalry had begun, one that would test patience, courage, and ingenuity far beyond what either could imagine. The first encounter was over, but the story of respect, understanding, and the unexpected power of calm, was only beginning. The next morning, the space station Arendor was alive with energy. Ships from countless civilizations moved in and out of the docking bays, carrying delegates, merchants, and travelers. The corridors buzzed with conversation, laughter, and the occasional argument over territory, trade, or honor. Liam Carter moved among it all, his mind focused, his steps calm. Word of his encounter with Prince Kieran had spread quickly. Delegates whispered behind gloved hands, antennas twitching, eyes widening. The human who walked away from the prince without a word. Some shook their heads in disbelief. Others nodded with respect. Liam paid little attention to the gossip. He had a mission, and patience was as important as courage. Kieran, on the other hand, could not forget him. The prince's golden eyes followed Liam wherever he went, often from a distance. Kieran had spent his life surrounded by people who flattered, feared, or obeyed him. This human ignored his insult without fear or submission. It was unfamiliar, unacceptable. Kieran decided to observe Liam more closely. He summoned his aides to prepare a small test. I want to see what he will do under pressure, Kieran said. Make it subtle. Nothing that will start a fight, but enough to test his patience. The aides nodded, taking notes and arranging meetings, questions, and minor annoyances for the human. Later that day, Liam was invited to a council session with representatives from neighboring systems. The hall was smaller than the Grand Hall of Nebulas, but it was filled with tension. Delegates from the Shorax, the Tralian Confederacy, and the Zetharian Empire gathered to discuss trade agreements and border disputes. As Liam entered, Kieran made his presence known. He leaned back in his seat, watching the human with an expression that mixed amusement and challenge. During the discussions, Kieran began with subtle provocations. He asked Liam condescending questions about Earth's technology, calling their spacecraft slow and fragile. Other delegates snickered quietly, expecting Liam to react with embarrassment or defensiveness. Liam responded calmly without raising his voice. Our spacecraft are designed for efficiency and adaptability, he said simply. They serve our needs and have carried us safely across many light years. Kieran's brow furrowed slightly. That was not the fiery response he had expected. He tried again, this time mocking Earth's communication systems. Primitive radios. Surely your people rely on better technology to survive among the stars? Liam paused for a moment, his tone steady. Communication is only as good as the strategy behind it. Simplicity can be an advantage, especially when reliability matters more than extravagance. The Zetherian prince's eyes narrowed. Other delegates were starting to notice that this human was unlike any they had seen. Chiron's subtle insults designed to provoke were being met with calm, clear responses. Throughout the session, Liam demonstrated a talent for diplomacy that impressed many. He listened attentively, asked intelligent questions, and offered solutions that satisfied multiple parties without escalating conflict. The Shorax delegate, usually impatient and sharp-tongued, even nodded in approval. Kieran, however, was not pleased. He could feel his own pride bruised by the human's restraint. He had expected a reaction, a challenge, or even fear, but Liam gave nothing. Instead, he had shown patience, intelligence, and composure. Chiron could not deny that humans might be more than what his arrogance had assumed. After the council session, Chiron decided to confront Liam directly. He found him in a quiet corridor, reviewing notes and maps of trade routes. You continue to survive the day without offending anyone, Chiron said, voice low and sharp. I must admit, it is impressive. But tell me, human, do you never feel anger, fear, embarrassment? Liam looked up calmly. Emotions are natural, but they are not always useful in decision-making. I focus on the best outcome, not the immediate reaction. Chiron's golden eyes flashed. Most humans would have shouted, argued, or stormed out by now. Why do you not? Because patience and observation are often stronger than confrontation, Liam replied. Strength is not only measured in action, but in knowing when to act and when to wait. Kieran stepped closer, studying the human's face. There was no deception, no arrogance, no fear, only quiet confidence. He had never seen anyone like this. Days passed, and Kieran's subtle tests continued. He would ask pointed questions during public meetings, offer misleading information to see if Liam would react rashly, or arrange situations designed to frustrate him. Each time, Liam responded with calm intelligence, never insulting, never aggressive, and always finding solutions that left others impressed. Other delegates began to take notice. Whispers spread through the station. The human is clever. He does not fall into traps. He is patient and strong in ways we did not expect. Chiron's fascination with Liam grew into something he could not ignore. He began to watch more closely, trying to find a flaw, a weakness, something that would make the human falter. But Liam remained steady. One evening, as the station's artificial suns dimmed to simulate night, Liam walked to the observation deck again. Chiron followed quietly from a distance. Liam leaned on the railing, watching ships glide past the station, their lights reflecting like jewels in the darkness. Chiron approached cautiously. You are different, he said finally. I cannot predict your reactions. Most humans I have met are loud, brash, or desperate to prove themselves. You are none of those things. Liam looked at him, calm and measured. Difference is not weakness. Every species has strengths. Humans may not be the fastest or the strongest, but we adapt, we learn, we endure. Chiron's expression softened slightly, though he would never admit it aloud. Endurance is admirable. But do not think your calmness makes you untouchable. There will be challenges that test more than patience. I am ready for challenges, Liam said simply. That night, Chiron sat alone in his chambers, thinking about the human. He had been trained to expect deference, loyalty, and fear from those around him. Liam gave none of that. He had disrupted Kieran's expectations, challenged his assumptions, and yet had done so without anger or disrespect. This human, he may teach me something, Kieran whispered to himself. Or perhaps, he will teach me that humans are stronger than I believed. Meanwhile, Liam prepared for the next day, reviewing alliances, trade agreements, and potential diplomatic issues. He knew Kieran would continue to test him, but he was ready. Every step he took, every choice he made was deliberate. He understood that respect and understanding were earned over time, not demanded. In the quiet moments before sleep, Liam thought about Earth, about the training he had received, and about the journey ahead. The galaxy was full of civilizations far older and more advanced than his own, but he believed in humanity's potential. Calmness, intelligence, and patience were tools that could build bridges, solve conflicts, and even survive hostility. The next day would bring more tests, more subtle provocations from the young alien prince, but Liam was undeterred. Every challenge was an opportunity to prove that humanity could stand among the stars, not through aggression or power alone, but through wisdom, resilience, and quiet confidence. And somewhere across the station, Chiron was preparing his next move, not in anger but in curiosity. He wanted to see how far this human could go, how clever and patient he truly was. For the first time, Chiron felt something unfamiliar: respect. In a galaxy filled with ancient empires and alien powers, two young minds, one human, one alien, were about to engage in a subtle game of strategy, patience, and understanding. Neither knew where it would lead, but the first steps had already been taken. The human had survived the first insult. He had survived the first test. And in doing so, he had begun to change the way an alien prince saw the galaxy and humanity's place within it. The space station Arendor gleamed like a jewel against the dark canvas of space. Its corridors were alive with diplomats, traders, and curious travelers. Every day brought new challenges, negotiations, and subtle tests of skill. For Liam Carter, the young human diplomat, it was another day to prove that humanity was not to be underestimated. Chiron, the 19-year-old Zetharian prince, had spent the past days observing Liam. The human's calmness, intelligence, and restraint had impressed him and irritated him in equal measure. Chiron's pride demanded that he expose weakness, but Liam offered none. That realization frustrated the young prince more than he cared to admit. Chiron decided it was time for a more direct challenge. He summoned Liam to a private demonstration of Zetharian combat simulation, a test designed for the Empire's elite. The simulation was a holographic environment where strategy, reflexes, and ingenuity were tested. Most visitors found it confusing, overwhelming, and intimidating. Chiron expected the same from Liam and planned to watch him falter. When Liam arrived, the chamber was bathed in soft blue light. Holographic targets floated in midair, shifting and rotating with rapid speed. Sensors along the floor monitored every move, every reaction. Chiron stood at the edge of the chamber, golden eyes gleaming. "Welcome, human. This is a simulation we use to train our finest warriors. Do not be embarrassed if you cannot keep up." His tone was deliberately condescending. Liam nodded politely. "Thank you for the invitation, Prince Chiron. I am eager to learn." Chiron's smile was thin. He activated the simulation and the room transformed. Floating platforms, moving obstacles, and holographic targets appeared. The environment shifted constantly, designed to test reflexes, decision-making, and adaptability. Most humans would have panicked at the complexity. Liam, however, took a slow breath and observed. He studied the movements of the targets, the patterns of the shifting platforms, and the rules of the simulation. Instead of reacting impulsively, he began to plan. Chiron raised an eyebrow. "You are unusually calm for a human. Most would be overwhelmed." "I prefer to understand before acting," Liam replied simply. The simulation began in earnest. Targets moved faster, platforms rotated more violently, and holographic obstacles appeared without warning. Liam moved deliberately, not with speed alone, but with precision. He anticipated the patterns, calculated the safest paths, and used minimal energy to hit targets. Chiron watched, initially expecting the human to fail spectacularly. But Liam's calm and methodical approach allowed him to achieve accuracy that surprised even the experienced aides monitoring the simulation. "This is impressive," Chiron muttered under his breath. He had trained in these simulations since childhood, yet the human adapted faster than expected. Liam completed the session efficiently, using clever shortcuts and observing the environment to his advantage. He did not show pride or arrogance, only quiet focus. Chiron stepped forward, a mixture of irritation and admiration in his gaze. "You have performed well. But tell me, human, do you have no fear? No hesitation?" "I focus on the task at hand," Liam said. "Fear is natural, but it should not control your actions. Hesitation can lead to mistakes, and mistakes are more costly than confidence tempered by care." Chiron's mouth tightened. His usual confidence was shaken, not by force but by the human's intelligence and calm reasoning. He had expected to see frustration, failure, or embarrassment, but Liam had turned the test into an opportunity to demonstrate his strengths. After the simulation, Chiron motioned for the aides to leave them alone. "Tell me, human," he said, pacing slowly. "How can you remain so composed under pressure? Most species would crumble, argue, or flee. You adapt." Liam looked at him steadily. "Adaptation is necessary in a galaxy as vast and unpredictable as this one. Reacting impulsively rarely leads to the best outcome. Observation, patience, and careful action often achieve far more than force alone." Kieran's golden eyes narrowed thoughtfully. "Perhaps you are not like the other humans I have met. You are clever, calm, and patient. It is unusual." "I believe that every species has strengths and weaknesses," Liam replied. "It is wise to understand both before making assumptions." Chiron fell silent, thinking. His usual arrogance had given him confidence in predicting the behavior of others. Liam had disrupted that expectation. The young prince realized that strength did not always come from power or speed. It could also come from intelligence, patience, and adaptability. Days passed, and the subtle rivalry between human and prince continued. Chiron would attempt small challenges, testing Liam's patience and ingenuity. Liam responded each time with calm reasoning, never rash, never arrogant. Other delegates began to notice and admire him, whispering to one another about the human who could outthink, outweight, and outmaneuver even the cleverest aliens. One afternoon, a technical malfunction occurred in the station's energy core. The lights flickered, alarms sounded, and panic began to spread among the nearby personnel. Chiron watched as Liam quickly assessed the situation. Without hesitation, he directed the humans nearby, coordinated with alien engineers, and took steps to stabilize the system. The humans' quick thinking prevented damage to the station and potential injuries. Chiron observed from the control room, noting how Liam combined calm judgment with strategic action. It was not brute force or aggression that solved the problem. It was intelligence and composure under pressure. That evening, Chiron approached Liam privately. The human was reviewing notes in the observation deck, gazing out at the ships moving across the docking bays. "You have done well today," Chiron said. "Most would panic, yet you acted with clarity." "It is remarkable." Liam nodded politely. "Emergencies are tests of planning, observation, and calm action. Panic rarely helps anyone." Chiron leaned against the railing, his golden eyes thoughtful. "Your calmness, it frustrates me. I expected fear, reaction, or failure. You give none of these. Instead, you succeed quietly. It is disconcerting." "I am not trying to frustrate anyone," Liam said softly. "I am simply doing what I believe is best." Chiron fell silent, realizing that this human's strength was not in aggression or pride. It was in restraint, observation, and clever action. For the first time, the prince felt that humans might not only survive among the stars, but also thrive in ways that others underestimated. In the days that followed, the human and the prince began a subtle game of observation. Chiron would test Liam with challenges, small provocations, or puzzles designed to reveal weakness. Liam would respond calmly, thoughtfully, and efficiently. Their interactions became a dance of intellect, strategy, and patience, each learning from the other without words of hostility. One afternoon, as Liam helped mediate a trade disagreement between two alien factions, Chiron observed from a distance. The human listened to both sides, asked insightful questions, and proposed solutions that satisfied all parties. Where other diplomats might have pushed one side or imposed authority, Liam's approach brought cooperation, respect, and understanding. Chiron's respect for Liam grew, though he would never admit it openly. The young prince realized that humanity's strength lay not in raw power or intimidation, but in ingenuity, patience, and the ability to act thoughtfully under pressure. That evening, Chiron returned to his private quarters, thinking about the human. "Perhaps I have underestimated them," he whispered. "Perhaps there is more to humanity than pride and weakness. This one, he may change my view of the galaxy." Meanwhile, Liam reviewed the day's events, preparing for the next challenges. He understood that Chiron's tests would continue, but he was ready. Observation, patience, and careful planning were his tools, and he would use them to prove that humanity could hold its own among the stars. The first direct challenge had been met and surpassed. Liam had faced the Zetherian simulation, the subtle provocations, and a real crisis without faltering. The human's quiet strength was becoming evident not only to Kieran but to everyone around him. The chapter of subtle resistance was ending, but the story of mutual respect, rivalry, and discovery was only beginning. Both human and prince had learned from each other, setting the stage for even greater challenges, tests of ingenuity, and opportunities for understanding. And somewhere in the corridors of the space station, the galaxy continued to watch. A human and an alien prince were proving that strength could take many forms. Not always force, not always aggression, but intelligence, patience, and courage. The hidden challenge had been met, and both Liam and Kieran knew that the next test would push them even further, in ways neither could yet imagine. The space station Arendor had never been so tense. Normally a hub of diplomacy, commerce, and cooperation, it now thrummed with alert signals and hurried footsteps. A rogue faction known as the Varkans had infiltrated the station with the intent of sabotaging critical systems. Their goal was chaos, disruption that could ignite conflict between empires and endanger countless lives. Liam Carter was in the observation deck when alarms began to blare. His mind snapped into action immediately. He could hear the panic in the hallways, the shouts of diplomats and security personnel as they scrambled to respond. Humans had faced crises before, but this was different. This was interstellar, and it demanded calm thinking, quick decisions, and leadership. Kieran was nearby, summoned by the emergency. The young prince's usual confidence faltered slightly as he realized the scale of the threat. Security teams struggled to contain the rogue faction, and the station's energy cores were beginning to fluctuate dangerously. A mistake now could be catastrophic. Liam didn't hesitate. He moved quickly but calmly through the corridors, directing human engineers and coordinating with alien security personnel. His voice was firm but measured, giving clear instructions. Seal the docking bays on levels 3 and 4. Divert emergency power to the life support systems. Everyone else assist the injured and guide civilians to the safety zones. Kieran watched him in awe. This was not just intelligence or diplomacy. This was leadership under pressure. Liam's calm decisiveness inspired those around him to act efficiently without panic. The young prince realized that humans had more than courage. They had the ability to unite diverse species in moments of crisis. As the Varkans moved through the station, attempting to disable the energy core, Liam calculated the best way to intercept them. He coordinated teams, used drones to block hallways, and relied on both human and alien knowledge to outsmart the intruders. It was strategy in motion, quick, precise, and effective. Kieran joined him, offering his knowledge of Zetherian combat tactics and the station's hidden passages. At first it felt awkward. The prince was used to commanding, not following. But Liam's calm direction allowed them to work together. Slowly, Kieran began to trust the human's instincts, realizing that this young diplomat's patience and intelligence were as powerful as any weapon. The rogue faction reached the energy core, attempting to destabilize it. The alarms grew louder, red lights flashing across the corridors. Panic threatened to rise again, but Liam remained focused. "Divert auxiliary power now," he commanded. Engineers and alien technicians worked quickly, following his guidance. Kieran observed closely, then acted decisively to protect the core from sabotage. "Over here. Use this vent to block their access," he instructed, combining his knowledge with Liam's strategy. Together, human and prince outmaneuvered the Varkans, containing the threat before it could cause irreversible damage. As the chaos began to settle, Liam coordinated the evacuation of injured personnel and the restoration of the station's systems. Every step was calculated, every instruction clear. The combined efforts of humans, Zetherians, and other alien delegates prevented disaster, earning him admiration from all present. Kieran stood beside him, catching his breath. He was no longer the arrogant, mocking prince. He was a young leader recognizing another's strength, someone willing to learn. You acted quickly, calmly, and brilliantly," Kieran said quietly. "Most would have panicked. I would have panicked, yet you led us all." Liam nodded, not boastful, not arrogant. Leadership is about responsibility, not recognition. In moments like this, calm thinking saves more lives than anger or pride. Kieran's golden eyes glimmered with newfound respect. He had underestimated humans. Their strength was not only in courage or persistence, it was in intelligence, strategy, and composure under pressure. After the immediate threat was contained, the station held an emergency council to assess the damage. Delegates from multiple species praised Liam's efforts, noting that his calm leadership had prevented the situation from escalating into interstellar conflict. Kieran, however, said little. His pride would not allow public acknowledgement yet. But internally he recognized the human's exceptional ability. The days that followed were quieter, though the station remained on high alert. Liam continued his duties, reviewing protocols, ensuring safety, and observing the interactions between different species. The Varkan's attack had shaken many, but it had also highlighted humanity's value in the galaxy. Kieran found himself observing Liam more often than he would admit. The prince had always assumed that intelligence and strength came with arrogance and dominance. Liam had challenged that assumption entirely. Calm reasoning, patience, and strategic thinking could outperform raw power or intimidation. One evening, Kieran approached Liam privately on the observation deck. The stars outside shimmered like countless eyes watching them. "You saved the station today," he said, "and yet you do not boast. You do not seek recognition." "That is not my purpose," Liam replied softly. "Recognition does not change the outcome. What matters is that people are safe and that problems are solved." Kieran leaned against the railing, studying the human. Most species, and even humans I have met, would have reacted differently. Anger, fear, pride. They guide most decisions. You act with a clarity I have never seen. "I have learned that control over one's actions is more valuable than control over others," Liam said. "Reacting impulsively can create more harm than good." The prince remained silent, considering the words. For the first time, Kieran realized that respect was not demanded. It was earned. And Liam had earned it in ways Kieran had never anticipated. The next day, the station's activities returned to a cautious normal. The Varkans had been contained, security measures reinforced, and delegates reassured. Yet the experience had changed the atmosphere. Humans were no longer underestimated. Liam's calm decisiveness had shown that intelligence, patience, and strategy were formidable forms of power. Kieran found himself thinking about the human constantly. Every time Liam moved, spoke, or acted, the prince measured the actions and their effect. The young royal realized that he had a lot to learn, not only about humans but also about leadership, patience, and true strength. Meanwhile, Liam continued to act with quiet confidence. He knew that the galaxy was full of unpredictable challenges and ambitious leaders. He also knew that his calm, careful approach had earned trust and respect, not just from humans but from aliens across multiple systems. During a meeting with delegates, Kieran observed how Liam mediated disputes with subtle skill. When the Shorax and Trillian representatives argued over trade routes, Liam listened to both sides, asked questions, and suggested compromises that satisfied everyone. The solution was not forceful. It was intelligent, strategic, and respectful. Kieran, for the first time, saw a human not as weak or primitive but as clever, adaptable, and capable of leading even the most diverse groups. He realized that humanity's strength was underestimated, and that calm reasoning could triumph where aggression failed. That evening, Kieran reflected privately. "I have been proud, arrogant, and too sure of myself," he admitted softly. "This human, he is patient, intelligent, and strong in ways I never expected. Perhaps I have much to learn, from him and from his species." Liam, in his quarters, prepared for the next steps of his mission. He knew Kieran's tests would continue, though now the challenge was no longer simply about patience or composure. The prince had begun to respect him. Their interactions would evolve, becoming more complex, strategic, and insightful. The station returned to calm, but the bond, unspoken, subtle, and powerful, between the human and the young alien prince had been forged. Both had learned from each other. Liam had shown that humanity could survive and thrive under pressure, not through aggression, but through intelligence, patience, and calm action. Kieran had learned that respect must be earned, and that true strength could come in unexpected forms. The turning point had arrived. Humanity's place in the galaxy was becoming evident, not through boastful claims or displays of force, but through courage, strategy, and the quiet confidence of one young human diplomat. And somewhere, deep in the corridors of Arendor, the galaxy waited to see what these two minds, One human, one alien would accomplish together. The crisis had tested their skills, patience, and judgment. The stage was set for future challenges where alliances, respect, and ingenuity would determine not only the fate of a station, but the perception of humanity among the stars. The space station Arendor shone brightly against the vast darkness of space, calm once more after the chaos of the Varkan attack. Delegates and citizens alike moved with cautious relief, reassured that the station was secure. Life was returning to its usual rhythm, but for Liam Carter and Prince Kieran, nothing would ever be quite the same. In the days after the crisis, the young human's reputation had grown across the station. Whispers of his calm decisiveness, intelligence, and strategic thinking spread quickly. Aliens who had once doubted humans now regarded them with cautious respect. Humanity was no longer seen as primitive or weak. Liam's quiet courage and patience had earned admiration without a single boast. Chiron, the 19-year-old Zetherian prince, had spent these days observing the human more closely than ever. The prince's pride, which had once led him to mock humanity, had softened into something more complex: curiosity and respect. He had witnessed Liam navigate crises, mediate disputes, and lead without authority, yet earn obedience and trust from humans and aliens alike. Chiron realized that respect could not be demanded through insults or dominance. It had to be earned through action, patience, and integrity. Liam had done exactly that. The prince wanted to acknowledge it, but he struggled to find the right words. Zetherians rarely admitted admiration openly, especially to someone of a different species. One evening, Chiron approached Liam in the observation deck. The artificial suns had dimmed and the stars glimmered outside like distant lanterns. Liam was reviewing trade agreements and diplomatic notes as he often did when the prince appeared. "Human," Chiron began, his voice calm but serious. "I have watched you for many days now. I have seen how you handle challenges, crises, and even my own attempts to provoke you." Liam looked up and nodded politely. "Thank you, Prince Chiron. I have only tried to do what I believe is right and effective." Chiron studied him for a long moment, as if weighing his words carefully. "You have done more than that. You have shown patience, intelligence, and courage in ways I have never seen. You did not respond to insults, you did not panic in crisis, and you did not act out of pride. Instead, you led, you guided, and you earned the respect of everyone around you." Liam's expression remained calm, but a small smile touched his lips. "I have learned that strength is not only in force or authority, it is in patience, observation, and wise action." Chiron's golden eyes glimmered. For the first time, he felt an unfamiliar sense of humility. "I underestimated humans," he admitted softly. "I thought your species relied on pride and reaction. I see now that your strength is something different, something I did not expect." Liam nodded. "Humanity has always survived against great odds. Our survival depends on intelligence, cooperation, and resilience. Sometimes that means remaining calm when others would rush to action." The prince studied him quietly. "You have changed the way I see humans. Perhaps I have much to learn, not just about your species, but about leadership, patience, and true strength." Kieran's words were sincere, though subtle. Liam understood that this was a rare admission from the young royal. He knew that in the Zetherian Empire, respect was usually earned slowly and cautiously. Yet here it was, offered openly and honestly. In the following days, Kieran and Liam began working more closely together. The prince offered his knowledge of Zetherian politics and military strategy, while Liam contributed his calm reasoning, diplomacy, and problem-solving skills. Together, they tackled trade disputes, security improvements, and diplomatic negotiations. Their teamwork demonstrated not only mutual respect, but also the value of combining different strengths. During one mediation session, a dispute arose between two alien delegations over resource allocation. Tempers flared and voices rose. Kieran observed the situation, expecting Liam to struggle under pressure, but the human remained composed. He listened attentively, asked careful questions, and proposed a solution that balanced the needs of both parties. The delegates accepted it willingly, impressed by the clarity and fairness of his approach. Chiron watched silently, realizing that humans could lead with influence rather than dominance. Later, as they walked through the station's corridors, Chiron spoke quietly. "I have been proud, arrogant, and quick to judge. You have shown me that strength can take many forms. and that patience and intelligence are as powerful as any weapon. Liam nodded. I believe that every species has something to teach, and every situation can be solved with understanding and strategy. Strength is not just about power, it is about wisdom and restraint. The young prince smiled, a rare, genuine expression that softened his usual arrogance. Then perhaps we can learn from each other, not just for our own sake, but for the sake of the galaxy. Their partnership soon became a model for others. Delegates noticed the unusual cooperation between human and Zetherian prince. Aliens who had once doubted humans now sought their guidance in negotiations. Even the station's security teams began to rely on Liam's calm judgment in complex situations. Chiron found himself reflecting on humanity's potential. The species he had once mocked as primitive had demonstrated ingenuity, resilience, and courage. Liam had become the embodiment of that potential, quietly proving that humans could thrive in a galaxy filled with ancient, powerful civilizations. One morning, the station held a ceremonial celebration to honor those who had contributed to its safety and stability. Delegates from multiple species gathered to recognize the courage and leadership that had prevented disaster during the Varkan attack. Kieran approached Liam privately before the ceremony. You have done more than survive. You have led, guided, and inspired. I'm grateful for your presence here, human. Liam bowed slightly, a gesture of respect. It has been my duty and privilege, Prince Kieran. Together we have achieved more than I could alone. At the ceremony, Chiron spoke publicly for the first time, carefully choosing his words. Today, we honor not only the brave efforts of all delegates and security personnel, but also the remarkable courage and wisdom of a human diplomat who demonstrated that patience, intelligence, and calmness are among the greatest strengths a species can possess. The crowd murmured with surprise and admiration. Humans had rarely received such recognition from the Zetherian Empire. Liam stood quietly, accepting the acknowledgement with grace as the audience applauded. After the ceremony, Chiron approached him again, a small smile on his face. I have learned that respect is earned, not demanded. You have earned mine, human, and I will not forget it. Liam's eyes met the prince's, steady and calm. Respect is mutual, Prince Chiron. I have also learned from you about strategy, perspective, and leadership. Together we can achieve far more than alone. The two young leaders stood side by side overlooking the bustling docking bays. Ships of countless species moved in coordinated harmony, reflecting the unity and cooperation they had helped foster. Humanity's place in the galaxy was no longer in question. They had earned respect not through aggression or dominance, but through intelligence, patience, and courage. Kieran spoke quietly, almost to himself. Perhaps this is just the beginning. There is much to learn, much to explore, and much to achieve. Humanity may surprise the galaxy yet. Liam nodded. And together we can face any challenge, not through force alone, but through understanding, strategy, and cooperation. For the first time, the young prince felt a sense of partnership rather than rivalry. Chiron had learned that humans were not weak or primitive. They were clever, resilient, and capable of leadership in ways he had never imagined. Liam had shown that true strength often lay in calmness, intelligence, and careful action rather than pride or aggression. As the artificial suns dimmed for the night, the observation deck remained quiet. Liam and Chiron stood together looking out at the stars. They were different in every way, species, culture, and upbringing, but their shared experience had built trust, respect, and a subtle bond that could shape the future. The galaxy beyond Arendor was vast and unpredictable, filled with challenges and opportunities. But Liam Carter, the human diplomat, and Prince Kieran of the Zetherian Empire were ready. Together they had demonstrated that patience, intelligence, and courage could overcome even the greatest obstacles. The young human had survived insult, provocation, and crisis. He had earned respect, forged alliances, and proven that humanity could thrive among the stars. The young prince had learned humility, patience, and the true meaning of strength. Together, they looked toward the future, ready for whatever the galaxy would bring. And in that moment, humanity's place in the stars was secure, not through dominance, not through fear, but through courage, wisdom, and mutual respect.